whispered, "I'm ready tonight." And the millionaire couldn't resist. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's dive into the story. Have you ever had a moment when you thought you'd never find love, only to realize it was right in front of you? Let's find out what happens when two people meet by mistake. The evening was warm, but the sky had begun to shift, turning a dusky shade of purple as Emma Brooks stepped inside the bustling restaurant. She could feel the hum of conversation and the clink of silverware all around her. It was the kind of place she could only dream of being in, the kind where every plate was a work of art, and every guest looked like they belonged there. Emma, however, didn't feel like she belonged. She could feel her heart racing as her eyes scanned the room. Her dress was secondhand, a bit worn at the hem, and her shoes had seen better days. She took a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves. She had promised Jenny, her best friend, that she'd go through with this blind date. After all, it was her last shot at finding someone who could possibly understand her. With shaky hands, she pulled out her phone and checked the message. "Kevin, table 7, it read. Emma muttered to herself, "Table 7, table 7. She was already late, and the thought of walking into this fancy restaurant filled her with a sense of dread. But she had to do it. This was her chance. She finally spotted the table by the window, and there, sitting alone, was a sharply dressed man, his dark hair neatly styled, and his eyes focused on his phone. He looked perfect. She forced a smile, walking toward him, her palms sweaty. "Hi, you must be Kevin? I'm Emma. Nice to meet you." The man looked up, startled. He blinked a few times, trying to process what was happening. Hi Emma," he said, confusion flickering across his face. Emma, thinking he was shy, smiled more brightly, sliding into the seat across from him. "I know this is awkward," she laughed nervously. "Blind dates are weird, right? Jenny told me you might be a little quiet. So don't worry, I can talk enough for both of us." He opened his mouth to correct her, but hesitated. The man, Liam Parker, CEO of one of the most successful tech companies in the city, had been waiting for someone who wasn't supposed to be here. His business meeting had been canceled, but something about Emma's earnest smile made him pause. She was nothing like the polished socialites and high-end networkers he was used to. She was real, genuine, and she was just a little bit nervous, just like him. "Right, blind dates are something else," Liam said with a faint smile, his voice soft. Emma chuckled, her nerves slowly easing. The conversation flowed surprisingly well after that, even though she had no idea who this man really was. They talked about everything from her struggles with rent to her dream of one day opening an art studio. She made him laugh, something he hadn't done in months, and for the first time in a long time, Liam felt at ease. "You're not what I expected," Emma said, suddenly thoughtful. Liam raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What do you mean?" he asked. She flushed slightly, realizing her words might have been a little awkward. "Well, Jenny said you were reserved, but you're actually easy to talk to." He chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "You're easy to talk to too, Emma." Just as Emma was about to ask him about his job, her phone buzzed. "Hey, Emma, where are you?" "I'm at table 7, looking forward to meeting you. Kevin." Emma's heart sank as she reread the text, slowly looking up at Liam. Her face turned bright red. "You're not Kevin, are you?" she whispered, barely believing it. Liam's smile faltered for a moment, guilt flashing in his eyes. "No, I'm not," he admitted. Emma stood up abruptly, panic rising in her chest. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I sat at the wrong table," she stammered, grabbing her coat and bolting for the door. Her face was on fire as she dashed out into the night. Liam watched her go, a strange mix of regret and curiosity swirling in his chest. He'd intended to tell her the moment she walked up, but now, as he watched her run out of the restaurant, he found himself wondering if he'd ever see her again. Why did the thought of never seeing her again bother him so much? Emma stumbled into the chilly night air, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. She had made a fool of herself. But as she walked to the subway station, her mind kept drifting back to Liam's warm smile and the way he made her feel like she wasn't just another blind date. She couldn't explain it, but there was something about him that felt different. She groaned, shaking her head. I just hope I never see him again. What Emma didn't know was that Liam, for the first time in a long time, was hoping the exact opposite. The next morning, Emma sat on the couch of her small apartment, her mind racing. She couldn't stop replaying the events of last night in her head. She had made such a fool of herself. Why did she run out of the restaurant like that? She had just been embarrassed, that's all. But something about Liam had felt different. He was charming, yes, but there was something deeper, something real. She shook her head, trying to push the thought away. You'll never see him again, she muttered to herself. Just forget about it. But deep down, she knew that wasn't going to happen. Not after the way he had looked at her. Not after the way he had made her feel. A soft knock on the door snapped her out of her thoughts. Emma stood up, confused. She wasn't expecting anyone. She peeked through the peephole. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw who it was. Standing outside, holding a coffee cup, was Liam. Her breath caught in her throat. Was this a dream? She opened the door hesitantly, and Liam smiled at her, a little sheepish but warm. Hey Emma, he said. Can we talk? She was silent for a moment, trying to process what was happening. You came to my apartment? She asked, still in disbelief. He nodded. Yeah, I know this is crazy, but I wanted to apologize. I should have told you last night that I wasn't Kevin. I didn't mean to make things awkward. Emma stood there for a moment, unsure of what to say. She stopped herself, feeling embarrassed all over again. I just ran out of there. I didn't even give you a chance to explain. It's okay, Liam said, his voice reassuring. I understand. You didn't know who I was. And I should have said something sooner. But I didn't want to spoil the moment. You seemed different. You didn't see me for what I am. Emma was confused. What do you mean? She asked, her curiosity piqued. Liam took a deep breath, as if gathering his thoughts. I mean, I don't want to be known for my money or my status. I wanted someone to talk to, someone real. Someone who could see past all of that. Emma was taken aback. This wasn't what she had expected at all. She had assumed he was just another wealthy, arrogant guy. But now, hearing him speak, she wasn't so sure. She felt a tug in her chest, something that made her want to listen, to understand. But why didn't you just tell me who you were? She asked. Why go through all of this? Liam smiled a little, his eyes softening. Because I wanted to know you, Emma. Not the girl who sits at the wrong table. Not the one who works hard just to get by. I wanted to know the real you. Emma felt a lump in her throat. She didn't know what to say. It was too much to process, too fast. But at the same time, it felt right. I'm not sure what to think right now, she admitted. This is all so overwhelming. I get that, Liam said. But maybe we could take it slow? Start over, maybe. She looked at him, the weight of his words sinking in. Maybe this was the universe giving her a second chance. A second chance not just with Liam, but with herself. To believe in something more than just getting by. Okay, she said, finally finding her voice. We can start over. Liam's smile grew wider, and for the first time in a long while, Emma felt a spark of hope. She wasn't sure where this would go, or what would happen next, but for once, she didn't feel so alone. And that was enough for now. The next few days were a whirlwind. Liam and Emma started meeting up for coffee, for walks in the park, for dinner at casual restaurants where no one knew who he was. They talked about everything and nothing, her dreams, her struggles, his past, and what brought him to the city. She learned that he wasn't just a tech millionaire. He was someone who had worked his way to the top, who understood what it meant to sacrifice, to build something from nothing. And she admired that. Slowly but surely, the awkwardness from their first encounter began to fade. Emma found herself looking forward to their time together. She couldn't deny the growing connection between them, even though she tried to keep her feelings in check. She wasn't sure what he wanted from her. Or maybe, she wasn't sure what she wanted from him. But when he looked at her, when they laughed together, something felt right. It was on the third evening that things took a turn. They had been walking through the city, talking about her plans to open an art studio, when Liam suddenly stopped. Emma, he said, his voice serious. There's something I need to tell you. She turned to face him, her heart pounding. What is it? I don't know how to say this, but I've been falling for you, he admitted, his voice quiet but firm. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She had known there was something between them, but hearing him say it out loud made her chest tighten. I didn't expect this, he continued. I came into this thinking I could just be a friend, just someone to talk to. But the more I get to know you, the more I realize. I don't want to lose you. Emma felt her world shift. It wasn't just the confession, It was the truth in his words, the sincerity in his eyes. And for the first time in a long while, Emma felt like she wasn't just chasing a dream. She was living it. It had been 2 weeks since that night. 2 weeks since Liam had confessed his feelings for Emma. They had been spending more time together, their connection growing deeper with every conversation, every shared laugh, and every walk through the park. But Emma wasn't sure what to do with all of this. She had never expected anything like this to happen. After years of struggling to make ends meet, she was now facing something she never thought she'd deserve: real attention from someone who was not just rich, but also kind, genuine, and thoughtful. She had been cautious at first, afraid to let herself believe it was real, but the more she spent time with Liam, the harder it became to deny that something special was blossoming between them. One evening, Liam invited her to a rooftop dinner, and as they sat down to eat under the stars, the conversation turned serious. "Emma," he began, his voice softer than usual, "I know I've said a lot already, but I need to tell you something. Something important." Her heart raced as she looked at him, unsure of what he was going to say. Was this going to be another moment of vulnerability? A moment that would change everything? "I've been thinking a lot about us," Liam continued, "about what this means. And the more I think about it, the more I realize how much I want you in my life. I want more than just these moments we've been sharing. I want to build something real with you. I want to be with you, Emma." Emma felt a lump in her throat. His words hit her in a way she wasn't expecting. She had already started to fall for him, but hearing him say it out loud made it feel more real, more possible, and more terrifying. She had spent so much of her life guarding her heart, afraid to let anyone close, afraid to be hurt again. But with Liam, she didn't feel that fear. Not anymore. She reached for his hand, her fingers trembling slightly as they touched his. "Liam, I've been thinking about this too," she said, her voice soft but steady. "I never expected to feel this way, but every time I'm with you, I feel like I'm home, like I'm finally where I'm supposed to be. But I'm scared too. I don't know if I'm ready for something like this." He squeezed her hand gently, his gaze never leaving hers. "You don't have to be ready right now," he said. "We'll take it one step at a time. No pressure. I just need you to know how I feel. And I want you to know that I'm here for you, whatever you decide." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest as she listened to him. It was exactly what she needed to hear. She wasn't ready to dive into something so deep, but she wanted to explore this with him. Slowly. Together. "I'm willing to give this a chance," she said, her voice a little shaky but filled with sincerity. "I just need time to figure out what this means, to figure out what I want." Liam nodded, his expression understanding. "Of course. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." Over the next few days, they continued to grow closer. Emma found herself opening up more than she had ever expected, sharing pieces of her life she had kept hidden for years. Liam listened intently, never judging, never rushing her. And in return, Emma began to see glimpses of the man behind the CEO persona. The man who was kind, thoughtful, and, most importantly, vulnerable. He wasn't just the successful businessman everyone saw. He had his own fears, his own struggles, and that made him even more real in her eyes. One afternoon, Liam invited Emma to a charity event he was hosting for underprivileged artists, something that had been close to his heart for years. As they walked into the grand hall, Emma was in awe of the grandeur of it all, but it wasn't the decorations or the high-end guests that caught her attention. It was Liam. The way he moved through the crowd, the way he interacted with people, always with a smile, always with a warmth that was genuine. He was the same man she had spent countless hours with, but in this setting, he was different. She realized that he wasn't just a man with money. He was someone who cared about making a difference, someone who wanted to leave a legacy that went beyond his wealth. They spent the evening talking to other guests, enjoying the event, and by the time it ended, Emma was more certain than ever that this was something worth pursuing. They may have started out in a way that seemed like a mistake, a simple misunderstanding, but somewhere along the way, it had become so much more. As they walked to the car, Liam turned to Emma, a smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "I'm glad you came tonight," he said, his voice full of emotion. "I can't imagine my life without you in it now." Emma smiled back, her heart swelling. "I feel the same way." As they drove home in the quiet of the night, Emma felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt in a long time. She was no longer running from her feelings. She was letting herself believe that love, real love, was possible, even for someone like her. It had been a month since Emma and Liam had started seeing each other. Things were moving slowly, but they were moving in the right direction. Liam respected Emma's need for time, and she appreciated how patient he was with her. Every day, she found herself falling a little more for him. His kindness, his generosity, the way he made her feel like she mattered. They had shared dinners, walks, and deep conversations about life, dreams, and fears, but there was still something Emma couldn't shake. The weight of their differences. She had grown up fighting for everything, scraping by, barely making ends meet, while he had everything. He was a billionaire, and sometimes, it felt like their worlds were so different that it would be impossible for them to truly be together. But every time she saw him, she realized that he didn't care about those differences. What mattered to him was who she was, her heart, her passion, her authenticity. And yet, every time she thought about opening up to him completely, about allowing herself to fully embrace what they had, doubt crept in. She had never been the type of person who relied on anyone. She had spent most of her life taking care of herself, of others, and she wasn't sure she could let go of that control, even for someone as perfect as Liam. One evening, as they were walking home after a dinner date, Liam turned to her, a serious look in his eyes. "Emma, I know you've been holding back," he said softly. "And I understand why. I know you've been hurt before, and you're afraid of getting hurt again. But I need you to know that I'm not like the others. I'm not going anywhere. I want to be with you, all of you, the real you." Emma stopped walking, her heart racing as she processed his words. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to let him in, to finally let herself be loved the way she deserved. But the fear, the uncertainty, still lingered. "Liam," she started, her voice trembling slightly. "I've never been good at this. At letting people in. I've spent my whole life building walls, keeping people out. And I'm scared. I'm scared that if I let you in, I'll lose myself." Liam reached for her hand, gently pulling her toward him. "You don't have to lose yourself, Emma. You're already whole. You don't need to change for me, or for anyone. I love you for exactly who you are. And I'm not asking you to give up your independence or your dreams. I'm asking you to let me be part of them. To let me support you, to share your life with you. Not because you need me, but because you want me there." His words hit her like a wave, and for the first time in a long time, she felt something shift inside her. It wasn't just the fear that had been holding her back. It was the realization that she didn't have to do it all alone anymore. For the first time in her life, she could imagine a future where she wasn't just surviving, but thriving. A future where love and support weren't things she had to earn, but things she could simply receive. She took a deep breath and smiled at Liam. "I want that too," she said, her voice steady now. "I want to let you in. I want to see where this can go." Liam's eyes lit up, and he pulled her into a tight hug, holding her as if he never wanted to let go. "You won't regret this, Emma. I promise." Over the next few weeks, things began to change between them. They spent more time together, and the walls Emma had built around her heart started to come down. She allowed herself to open up more, to share her dreams, her fears, and her past with Liam. And every time she did, he listened with an open heart, never judging, never rushing her. He was patient, and that patience began to heal the parts of her that had been broken for so long. One afternoon, they went to an art gallery opening that Emma had been invited to. It was a small, local event, but it meant the world to her. She had always dreamed of having her work displayed in a gallery, and seeing her paintings on the walls felt like a dream come true. Liam stood by her side the entire time, proud and supportive, never once drawing attention to himself or his wealth. He was there for her, not for the fame or the status, but because he believed in her. As they walked through the gallery, Emma felt a sense of belonging she had never known before. It wasn't just about the art. It was about the people who appreciated it, the people who saw her for who she really was. And standing next to Liam, she realized something else. She wasn't just a waitress with dreams. She was an artist. She was someone who deserved love, support, and success. And Liam was right there beside her, supporting her every step of the way. Later that evening, as they were walking home, Liam stopped and turned to her, his eyes filled with emotion. "I'm so proud of you, Emma. I knew you had it in you. You're going to go so far." Emma smiled, her heart full. "Thank you, Liam, for everything." He pulled her close and kissed her softly. And in that moment, Emma knew that no matter what came next, they were ready for it. Together. It had been another month since Emma and Liam had started building a life together, slowly but surely, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. Emma had never imagined that something so beautiful could come from such an awkward beginning. Her doubts, the fears she had about not being enough for him, were slowly starting to fade. Liam had shown her that love didn't come with strings attached. It wasn't about needing someone to complete you. It was about wanting to share your life with them, to build something together. The idea of truly opening up had once terrified her, but now, she felt safe. It was a strange, comforting feeling she couldn't shake, and for the first time in years, Emma believed in love again. One morning, after a quiet breakfast, Emma got a call that would change everything. It was from a prestigious art gallery in the city. "We've reviewed your portfolio, and we'd like to offer you a solo exhibition," the voice on the other end said, the excitement in their tone impossible to miss. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had worked for years to get to this point, but now that it was happening, it felt surreal. She barely managed to thank the person on the phone before hanging up, her hands trembling. Liam, who had been sitting across from her, noticed immediately. "Emma, what's wrong? What happened?" She looked at him, her eyes wide. "I just got an offer for a solo exhibition at the gallery," she whispered, as if saying it aloud would make it all real. Liam's eyes lit up with pride, his smile spreading across his face. "Emma, that's amazing. You deserve this." He stood up and crossed the room, pulling her into a tight embrace. "I knew you could do it. I've seen your work, and you've got something special." Emma could feel tears welling up in her eyes. She had worked so hard, and now, finally, everything was falling into place. But as she pulled away from him, a wave of anxiety washed over her. "But what if it's too much? What if I fail?" she asked, her voice shaky. Liam looked at her with an intensity that left no room for doubt. "You're not going to fail. This is your time, Emma. Don't let fear hold you back. You've got everything you need to succeed. And I'll be right here with you, every step of the way." She smiled, her heart swelling at his words. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she could do anything. Over the next few weeks, Emma threw herself into preparing for the exhibition. She spent long hours in her studio, perfecting each piece, making sure everything was just right. Liam was by her side, offering encouragement and support, always reminding her to take breaks and never pushing her too hard. He understood her better than anyone else ever had, and with him, she felt like she could conquer the world. The night of the exhibition arrived, and the gallery was filled with people, art critics, collectors, and friends of Liam's from the business world. Emma felt out of place at first, overwhelmed by the crowd, but when she looked at Liam, standing beside her with a reassuring smile, she felt a sense of calm wash over her. This wasn't just about the art, it was about the journey they had taken together. As the night went on, Emma found herself talking to people, explaining her pieces, sharing the stories behind each one. She felt a sense of pride that she had never known before. This wasn't just a dream, it was her reality. Liam watched her with admiration, his heart swelling with love and pride for the woman she had become. He had always known she was special, but tonight, she was shining in a way he had never imagined. When the night was over, Liam took Emma's hand and led her outside, where the city lights sparkled against the dark sky. "You were amazing tonight," he said softly, his voice full of emotion. Emma smiled, feeling more alive than she ever had. "I couldn't have done it without you," she whispered. Liam stopped and turned to face her, his hands gently holding her face. "Emma, I don't ever want to see you doubt yourself again. You're incredible. You've always been incredible. And I'm so lucky to be a part of your life." She felt a lump in her throat, the love in his eyes overwhelming her. "I feel the same way," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Without another word, Liam leaned in and kissed her softly, their hearts beating in sync. In that moment, Emma realized something she had never fully understood before. Love wasn't just about being with someone. It was about finding someone who believed in you, who made you believe in yourself. And in Liam, she had found that belief. As they pulled away, Liam smiled, his eyes filled with hope and promise. "We've come a long way, Emma," he said, his voice steady. "But this is just the beginning. I can't wait to see where we go from here." Emma smiled, knowing that whatever happened next, she wasn't going through it alone. Together, they could face anything. As the weeks passed, Emma and Liam's relationship deepened, and with every passing day, Emma found herself falling more and more in love with him. He had become her support system, her safe place, and for the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid to lean on someone else. But just as everything seemed to be falling into place, Emma began to feel the weight of the decisions she had made. The exhibition had been a huge success, but with that success came new challenges. Emma had to figure out how to balance her art career with the demands of her personal life. She was starting to get more attention from collectors and critics, and the pressure to keep up with it all was overwhelming. And on top of that, there was Liam. She knew that being with him wasn't going to be easy, especially when his world was so different from hers. He was a tech billionaire, used to a life of luxury and privilege, while she had grown up fighting for everything she had. The differences between them sometimes felt too big to bridge, and Emma couldn't help but wonder if it was all too much. One evening, as they were sitting on the couch, Emma turned to Liam, her heart heavy with uncertainty. "Liam," she began, her voice soft, "I've been thinking a lot about everything. About us. About my career, my art, and how it's all changing so fast. And I don't know if I'm handling it well. I feel like I'm losing myself in all of this." Liam looked at her, his expression full of concern. "Emma, you're not losing yourself. You're growing, and that's a beautiful thing. I'm here for you, no matter what. I don't expect you to have all the answers, and I don't want you to feel like you're alone in this." Emma took a deep breath, grateful for his support, but the doubts still lingered. "I just feel like I'm not ready for everything that's happening. The art world is moving so fast, and I'm still trying to figure out who I am in all of this. And then there's you. Liam, your life is so different from mine. Sometimes I wonder if I'm good enough for you." Liam shook his head, his gaze steady as he took her hands in his. "You are more than good enough, Emma. You're incredible, and I'm lucky to have you in my life. But I get it. I know it's not easy. I know the pressure can feel overwhelming. But you don't have to do it all alone. We're a team, remember?" Emma looked into his eyes, feeling the sincerity in his words. For a moment, the weight on her shoulders seemed to lift. She realized that maybe, just maybe, she had been holding herself back, afraid to accept the love and support that Liam was offering her. "I don't know what the future holds," she said softly, "but I'm willing to try. I'm willing to take the leap, with you." Liam smiled, his eyes lighting up with warmth and affection. "That's all I've ever wanted, Emma. To be with you. To share this journey with you. And whatever comes next, we'll face it together." They kissed then, a soft, gentle kiss that spoke volumes. It wasn't just about love. It was about trust, about two people choosing each other, even in the face of uncertainty. Over the next few months, Emma began to find a balance between her career and her relationship with Liam. It wasn't always easy, but with his support, she learned to manage the demands of both. Liam continued to push her to be the best version of herself, not because he expected it, but because he believed in her. And as her career took off, so did their relationship. They traveled together, spent weekends at quiet getaways, and built a life that was full of love, adventure, and passion. But just as things seemed to be going perfectly, life threw them a curveball. One evening, after a long day at the gallery, Emma received an unexpected call. It was from her mother, who had been struggling with her health for months. "Emma, I need you to come home," her mother said, her voice weak and full of worry. "The doctors don't know what's going on, and I'm scared." Emma's heart dropped into her stomach. She had known her mother had been unwell, but hearing the fear in her voice made everything feel real. She turned to Liam, her mind racing. "Liam, I have to go," she said, her voice trembling. "My mom is really sick. I need to be there for her." Liam immediately stood up, walking over to her. "Of course, Emma. You don't have to ask. I'll go with you. We'll go together." Emma shook her head, tears filling her eyes. "No, Liam. You've done so much for me already. I need to go alone. This is something I need to do for myself, for my family." He cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing away a tear. "Emma, you're not alone in this. I'm with you, no matter what. If you need me, I'll be there." Emma leaned into his touch, feeling comforted by his words. "Thank you," she whispered. "But I have to go." She kissed him softly, then grabbed her bag and rushed out the door, her heart heavy but full of love. As she drove to her childhood home, Emma knew that life was unpredictable and she couldn't control everything. But with Liam by her side, even from a distance, she knew she would be okay. They would face whatever came their way, together. The drive to her childhood home felt longer than it ever had before, each mile stretching out with a heavy weight on Emma's chest. Her mind kept racing, not just about her mother's illness, but about everything that had led her to this moment. Liam's words kept echoing in her mind, his unwavering support, the way he had always been there for her. She knew he would have come with her if she'd asked, but she couldn't shake the feeling that this was something she needed to face on her own. She pulled into the familiar driveway, the old house standing quietly in the fading light of the evening. The front porch light was on, casting a soft glow against the cool night air. As she stepped out of the car, her heart clenched at the thought of her mother. She hadn't seen her in a few weeks, but the changes in her voice during that phone call had been enough to send her rushing home. The door creaked open as she entered, and she was met with the familiar smell of lavender and old books. Her mother was sitting in the living room, wrapped in a blanket, looking smaller and more fragile than Emma remembered. Her heart sank as she rushed over to her side. "Mom," Emma whispered, kneeling beside her. Her mother looked up, a faint smile on her tired face. "Emma, sweetheart," she said softly, reaching out to hug her. "I didn't mean to worry you." "You didn't," Emma said, her voice thick with emotion as she hugged her mother tightly. "But I'm here now. What did the doctors say?" Her mother's smile faded slightly as she looked away. "They're not sure yet. They think it might be something with my heart, but they're running more tests." Emma felt a wave of worry wash over her. She hated seeing her mother like this, so vulnerable, so unsure of what the future held. She wanted to take away her pain, to make everything better, but she knew she couldn't. "We'll figure this out, Mom. I'm not going anywhere," Emma reassured her, her voice firm despite the fear in her heart. Her mother looked at her, a tear slipping down her cheek. "I'm so proud of you, Emma. You've grown into such a strong, beautiful woman. I just wish I could have been there more for you." Emma squeezed her hand gently, holding back her own tears. "You were there, Mom. You always have been." The next few days were a blur of hospital visits, tests, and waiting. Emma stayed by her mother's side as much as she could, but the strain of it all began to wear on her. She felt torn between wanting to be there for her mom and the life she had built with Liam. She had promised herself that she wouldn't let her career or personal life take a back seat. But now, everything felt like it was slipping through her fingers. One evening, after a particularly tough day at the hospital, Emma sat in the quiet of her mother's living room, staring at the flickering light of the lamp beside her. Her phone buzzed, pulling her out of her thoughts. It was a message from Liam. "I'm thinking about you. I know it's hard, but you're stronger than you know. Let me know if you need anything." Emma's chest tightened as she read his words. He had been so understanding, so patient with her during this difficult time, but she hadn't been able to share everything with him. She hadn't told him how overwhelmed she felt, how she was struggling to keep everything together. The pressure of being there for her mother, managing her career, and trying to maintain her relationship with Liam was starting to feel like too much. She couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. She typed a quick response. "I'm okay. Just tired. Thank you for checking in. I'll be back soon." She set the phone down, her hands trembling slightly as she took a deep breath. She wanted to be strong. She wanted to be the woman Liam believed in, the woman who had it all together. But right now, she wasn't sure how to be that person. That night, after she had put her mother to bed, Emma went outside to get some fresh air. The cool breeze hit her face as she walked down the quiet street, her mind spinning. She needed to make a decision. She needed to find a balance between the life she had in New York, the life she had with Liam, and the life she had with her mother. She couldn't keep running back and forth, caught in between. She couldn't keep pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. As she stood there, looking up at the stars, Emma realized something. She had to stop doing everything alone. She had to let people in, let them help her. And maybe, just maybe, that included Liam. She had spent so much time pushing him away, afraid of being vulnerable, but he had always been there for her. He didn't expect perfection, he just wanted her. And maybe that was enough. The next morning, after a restless night, Emma finally called Liam. "Liam, I need to talk to you," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "I've been pushing you away, and I realize now that I can't do this alone. I need you. I don't know what the future holds, but I want to figure it out with you." Liam's voice was gentle but filled with conviction. "Emma, you don't have to carry this burden by yourself. I'm here for you, no matter what. We'll face it together, just like we always have." Emma felt a sense of relief flood over her as she listened to his words. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she was drowning. She didn't have to be perfect. She just had to be herself. And with Liam by her side, she felt like she could face whatever came next. It had been a few weeks since Emma had opened up to Liam, and although the weight of her responsibilities still loomed over her, she was learning how to balance it all. Her mother's health was improving. The art world was becoming more welcoming with each new opportunity, and her relationship with Liam had never been stronger. Yet, despite everything falling into place, Emma couldn't shake the nagging feeling of uncertainty. She had always been a fighter, someone who pushed through life's challenges on her own, but now, with Liam by her side, she was realizing that maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to do it alone anymore. But with that realization came a new fear. What if she wasn't enough for him? What if her past, her struggles, the things that made her who she was, were too much for him to accept? One evening, after a particularly long day at the gallery, Emma came home to find Liam waiting for her on the couch. He had a smile on his face, but there was something in his eyes that told her he was concerned. "How's your mom?" he asked, his voice soft. Emma smiled as she sat down beside him. "She's doing better," she said, her heart still heavy with the thought of everything she had been through. "But it's been a lot, Liam. I don't know how to juggle everything. And I keep wondering if I'm doing enough, if I'm enough." Liam reached for her hand, holding it gently in his. "Emma, you don't have to do everything on your own," he said, his voice filled with warmth. "I know it's hard to accept help, but you don't have to carry this weight by yourself. You've been carrying it for so long, but I'm here now. I'm here for you." She looked at him, her eyes filled with doubt. "But what about you, Liam? What about your life, your world? You have so much, success, wealth, everything anyone could want. And I'm just me. I don't know if I belong in your world. I don't know if I can keep up with it." Liam's expression softened, his thumb gently brushing over her hand. "Emma, you belong in my world because you are you. You're strong, and you're real. You've fought for everything you have, and that's something I admire more than anything. I don't need someone to keep up with my life. I need someone to share it with. And I want to share it with you." Emma felt her chest tighten as his words sank in. She had never felt more seen, more understood. She had spent so much time hiding parts of herself, afraid that they weren't enough, that she wasn't enough. But Liam didn't see her flaws as weaknesses. He saw them as the strength that had gotten her this far. "I don't know if I can ever fully believe that I deserve this," Emma whispered, her voice trembling. "I've spent so much of my life just trying to survive. I don't know what it's like to have someone believe in me without expecting anything in return." Liam's gaze softened, his eyes filled with affection. "Emma, you don't have to prove anything to me. You're enough just as you are. I'm not here because I expect something from you. I'm here because I believe in you, because I love you." His words hung in the air, and Emma felt her heart swell in a way she had never known before. She had spent so much of her life doubting herself, pushing others away, convinced that no one could truly love her for who she was. But Liam's words were like a lifeline, pulling her out of the darkness she had lived in for so long. For the first time in years, she felt like she was allowed to be vulnerable, to be loved without condition. "I love you too," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "And I'm so scared. But I'm ready to try. I want to try with you, Liam." He pulled her into his arms, holding her close as if he never wanted to let go. "We don't have to have all the answers right now," he said softly. "We just have to keep moving forward together." In the days that followed, Emma felt a shift in herself. The doubts that had once clouded her mind slowly began to fade, replaced by a new sense of hope. She wasn't perfect, but she was enough. She didn't have to do everything on her own anymore, and she didn't have to hide the parts of herself that made her who she was. She could be real, and that was enough. One afternoon, Liam surprised her with a trip to a small coastal town not far from the city. It was a quiet place, with sandy beaches and cozy little cafes. And as they walked along the shore, Emma felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in a long time. Liam took her hand and stopped, turning to face her. "I want to show you something," he said, his eyes filled with excitement. He led her to a small gallery by the beach, the walls lined with paintings and photographs that captured the beauty of the coast. Emma's heart skipped a beat as she walked through the gallery, admiring the work on display. But what caught her attention the most was the final room, where a single painting stood in the center of the room. It was a painting of a woman standing on a beach, gazing out at the horizon, with a gentle smile on her face. The colors were soft, warm, and inviting, and it felt as if the woman in the painting was at peace with herself, with the world around her. "This is for you," Liam said quietly, watching her closely. Emma turned to him, her heart swelling as she realized what he meant. "Liam, I don't know what to say." He smiled, his eyes full of affection. "You don't have to say anything. I just wanted to remind you that you're enough, Emma. You've always been enough." She smiled through her tears, feeling like she had finally found a place where she truly belonged. With Liam, she knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together, hand in hand. As the months passed, Emma and Liam settled into a new rhythm of life. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. Emma had learned to trust in the love Liam gave her, and in turn, she found the strength to trust herself. She didn't have to be perfect, and she didn't have to do everything on her own. With Liam, she realized that love wasn't about waiting for the perfect moment. It was about embracing the journey together, imperfections and all. Liam continued to support her career, attending her gallery shows and cheering her on with every step. Emma, in return, encouraged him to find the balance between work and life, reminding him to slow down and appreciate the small moments that made life worth living. One evening, after a long day, they sat on the balcony of their apartment, the city lights twinkling below them. Emma leaned against Liam, feeling the warmth of his embrace as she looked out over the skyline. "I never imagined I would get here," Emma said softly, her voice filled with gratitude. "All those years of just surviving, and now I feel like I'm actually living. Not just for myself, but with you." Liam kissed the top of her head, his hand gently resting on hers. "You've always been living, Emma. You just needed someone who believed in you to remind you of that." Emma smiled, her heart swelling with love. "I'm glad you were the one to show me." They had come so far, from the awkward misunderstanding at the restaurant to this moment of quiet contentment. Emma had learned to let go of her fears, to trust that she was enough, and that love could be a safe place, not a burden. Liam had shown her that, and she had shown him that vulnerability wasn't a weakness, it was a strength, one that brought them closer together. The night was peaceful, the world outside their little bubble seeming far away. But for the first time in a long time, Emma felt at peace with herself. She wasn't alone anymore. And the future, with all its uncertainties, didn't seem so scary when she knew she had someone by her side who loved her, exactly as she was. "You know," Liam said after a long pause, his voice playful, "I've been thinking about something." Emma raised an eyebrow, curious. "What's that?" "We've done so much together already," he continued, a smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "But there's one more thing I want to do with you." Emma's heart fluttered as she looked at him. "What is it?" "I want to marry you, Emma," Liam said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Emma felt a rush of warmth flood her chest as her eyes widened in surprise. "Liam," she whispered, barely believing what she was hearing. "I want to spend the rest of my life with you," he continued, his gaze locked with hers. "You've changed my life in ways I never expected, and I want to do the same for you. Will you marry me?" For a moment, everything felt still. The world outside faded away, and all Emma could hear was the sound of her own heartbeat. She thought back to everything they had been through, the struggles, the doubts, the fear, and realized that it had all led her to this moment. And in that moment, she knew that she was ready. She wasn't just saying yes to Liam. She was saying yes to herself, to the love they had built, and to the future they would create together. "Yes," she said, her voice full of emotion. "Yes, I will marry you." Liam's face broke into a wide grin, and he pulled her into a tight embrace, lifting her off the ground in sheer joy. "I love you, Emma," he whispered, kissing her gently. "I love you too," Emma replied, her heart full, as they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms. From that moment on, Emma knew that her journey was only just beginning. The road ahead wouldn't always be easy, but with Liam by her side, she was ready to face whatever came next. Together, they had built a love that was strong, a love that had withstood fears, doubts, and challenges. And now, as they prepared to take the next step together, Emma couldn't help but feel excited for the future they would share. She had found love, not in perfection, but in the real, raw moments that made them who they were. And that, she realized, was all she had ever needed.